is the falls itself. It's beautiful, it's rich history, it's heritage. On why they're coming from, I believe, from Toronto in all different ethnic groups is because of house prices. House prices are a lot cheaper. If you live in Toronto, a house is $1.5 million to get maybe even a semi. Where down here you can get a pretty nice semi or a house somewhere between $500,000, $650,000. So affordability is one. I think the other one is when you're talking about ethnic groups and families, which is very important to ethnic groups. They know it's safe here. They know the education down here is really good. We got Brock University. We got Niagara College. So their kids can get an education down here. The other thing I think that they come here for outside the falls, there's lots to do in Niagara. My riding includes Fort Erie, Niagara Falls, and Niagara-on-the-Lake. In Fort Erie, we have one of the oldest tracks, most beautiful tracks, racetrack in the world. And that continues to operate every summer. If you go to Niagara-on-the-Lake, and people talk about Niagara-on-the-Lake, but don't talk a lot about their history. We wouldn't be Canada today without the history that's in Niagara-on-the-Lake, including the War of 1812 and some of the things that our First Nations and our Americans and Canadians fought against each other, and today we're together. You take a look at the craft brewing down in Niagara-on-the-Lake. A lot of people have moved away from that bottle or can of Canadian and are now getting into craft brewers. The wineries are just exploding with a place where you can go eat, get a nice glass of wine, and the beauty of it. So if you take a look at what we have to offer down here, obviously there's a lot of good tourism down here. There's lots of opportunities for investment in Niagara. It's a growing community. I still think we should be investing a little more in manufacturing down in Niagara. I think some great opportunities with the borders. We're close to a border, 10 minutes drive to the United States if you want to go across the border, but also for investment. It's a good idea. Lots of reasons, but the one I want to really touch on, people that are coming from Toronto and some of the other areas, they're looking at Niagara as a place to raise their family, a place to enjoy a good quality of life, but also knowing that it's safe. And that's important to a lot of families, that they want to raise their children where they know it's safe. And in Niagara, it's a pretty safe, not only in Niagara Falls, but all in Niagara is a pretty safe place to raise your family. We have challenges with healthcare, but not just in Niagara, by the way. We have challenges with healthcare right across the province of Ontario. We have to make sure that we convince government how important healthcare is to everybody. You may be a young person today, but at some point in time, you may get a little older. You're going to need good quality health care. Our seniors deserve good quality health care. We have some challenges here. We need a new hospital in Niagara Falls. It's been promised to us since 2015. They keep saying they're going to put the shovels in the ground by 2022. I believe they should have been in the ground already. We have to continue to raise that awareness. Now, we have a hospital in Niagara Falls, but we need a better hospital, a newer hospital with some more doctors and stuff. So healthcare is an issue. Long-term care is an issue in Niagara. We have to continue to invest in long-term care. If you take a look at Fort Erie, we're going to build a brand new long-term care facility on Garrison Road. So that's a good positive. But the one thing that we do have here when it comes to healthcare, we have great doctors, we have great nurses, we have lots of talented people to take care. We just got to make sure that governments understand federally and provincially that investing in healthcare is very, very important. And we're going to continue as a politician, that's my role, by the way, to make sure that all levels of government understand the importance of having good quality health care. It's a basic human right. We got to make sure it happens right here in Niagara, but not only in Niagara, but right across the province of Ontario and throughout Canada. Well, our jobs are a challenge here. And I very early in this conversation, I said that don't give up on manufacturing. I think that's kind of the way where we're going to head. We got to get back into making sure we invest in good paying manufacturing jobs. But the one thing that we do need, and it's why important that I raised Niagara College and Brock University, is the openings in the next wave of good paying jobs for males and females, and one that females should pay attention to is in the skilled trades. We need to make sure that our education system is providing the resources so that they have the shops that they could do woodwork or sheet metal or welding in grade 7 and grade 8. And then as they move into high school, they can continue that so they get exposed to the trades early, and to make sure it's easy to get an apprenticeship. So support local businesses in the way of funding to make sure that they're going to hire young people and help them get a good trade. So that's the big issue that I think if there's a place to go outside of healthcare. Healthcare is a growing industry when it comes to jobs, but the skilled trades, we have a shortage. We know we're going to have a shortage. We know we're going to continue to have a shortage unless we invest in our education system to make sure our young people understand that there's nothing wrong with being an electrician or a plumber. They're good paying jobs, they're sustainable, and that's where the future is going to go. There's a shortage in this country. We got to make sure that our politicians invest in that. Hospitality jobs will continue to grow in Niagara Falls. If you take a look at in my riding in particular, in Niagara Falls, tourism has really become almost a year-round job. What we have to do is make sure that the people that work in the tourist sector can get the wages that they deserve for the hard work they're providing, for the service they're providing. Some people that own some of these businesses think they're coming to see them. The reality is they're coming because of the hospitality, because of the service they do, and they feel that their overall vacation experience is wonderful. You save all year long in a lot of cases to go on vacation. They choose Niagara Falls, so the first person they're going to say is our workers, the employees. We have to make sure in that sector that they're compensated fairly in the form of fair wages, fair benefits, so they can raise their family in Niagara. It's a challenge in Niagara to convince some people to do that. But it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for the community, it's a win for the employer, and it's certainly a win for the tourists that are coming into our area in record numbers. I think we're close to 15 million are going to come this year to Niagara Falls surrounding area. Niagara and the Lake, which I talked about, which is, they have tourists down there as well that rely on good jobs in the tourist sector. 2.7 million people came this year to Niagara Lake to see the wineries, the beauty of the wineries, to see the parkway, to enjoy the craft beer, to do shopping. The shopping down there is great. And the one that very few people talk about is the Shaw, the theater. Just a few years ago, the Shaw was in a bit of trouble financially. It's rebounded. People are now saying, yeah, let's go to the theater, let's go for dinner, let's go shopping. That overall experience, and then stay in the hotels that they have down in Niagara Lake. So the tourist sector is very, very important for Niagara as far as jobs. What we have to do is make sure they're good paying jobs that people can raise families on. Well, I think the investment, if you go back, I'd say maybe 7 or 8 years ago when the Canadian dollar was as high as $1.10, investing in this province was tough. We saw a lot of not only manufacturing jobs, but a lot of jobs leave Ontario to go to other countries, whether that be in the cheap southern states where their wages are low, or in a lot of cases in Mexico. So what we have to do with the Canadian dollar, we have some advantage now to a manufacturer, to somebody who wants to invest in not only Niagara Falls, but right across the province of Ontario, and actually right across Canada. We have a low Canadian dollar. As far as Niagara goes, we have the advantage that nobody else has, I think, in the world. We have the borders. We have a border in Niagara Falls. We have one in Fort Erie. We have the border in Queenston. And just across that border is one of the biggest opportunities there are to sell your product to. The biggest, richest country in the world is the United States of America, and the biggest buying power that we have. So I think there's lots of opportunities in Niagara, and we got to continue to talk about those advantages. And again, I talked about real estate doesn't cost as much as it would if you're investing in Toronto or Vancouver, some of those other places. So people will come down here and invest. Dollar, and the last one I'll talk about, we have a publicly funded healthcare system, we have a publicly funded education system. They are two very, very important things for anybody coming to this country. Matter of fact, this morning I was at a celebration. New Canadians took the oath of office today to say that they're Canadians. One of the best things you can do as a elected rep is to see the smiles on their face when they become Canadians. They take that oath, they sing "Oh Canada," and we tell them, and I think this is very important. Celebrate the fact that you're Canadian, but don't ever forget where you came from, and celebrate that as well through making sure that you volunteer with your organizations, no matter what ethnic group you are. Hungarian, Romanian, the Serbs, doesn't matter who you are, make sure you get involved and show the world that culture in the way of dance and the way of food, the quality of food and the different ones is just wonderful, you know. So those are the things that I said to him today. Yes, Canada's a great country. You've made, I think, a really good decision, but don't ever forget where you came from and celebrate where you came from.